Hey guys, welcome back. So we've discussed in previous videos how they've employed the same tactics as what we see here in the physical world in, let's say, the astral in terms of corporate, right? The same corporate tactics. The same hierarchical chain, the CEO, the workers, the managers, overseers, the board of directors, right? That's the council members, things like that. Well, in the corporate business world, there's a lot of sales and marketing, right? One example of the huge marketing that we see of kind of perpetuating the reincarnation idea is the fact that they have NDEs, where people retell these glorious NDEs and how it's helped them to realize that it is indeed, a school for us. And that brings us to my next point, which is the sales aspect. So what have they sold to us? And on my walk here, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, sales. Like, what? Does that sound like anything? And really, it's say less, sales. And that's, at my sales job, that's one of the first things they were insinuating. Like, just don't say everything, right? Well, I do think that can be good, right? When you're not talking too much, or you're not bombarding the person that you're trying to sell to with information. It helps them come to a decision themselves, because they're not needing to think about things. But on the other hand, it also is an omission of information. It's an omission of truth, lying by omission. So if let's say, if like their hypothesis is true, the soul is more inexperienced, then they're not going to have a lot of questions, because they don't know what the heck you're talking about in terms of the experience there. So whatever you say, they can only have questions that branch off of that trunk, right? So if the tree is very small, it's not going to have many branches. When the tree grows bigger, when you give more information, when the tree grows bigger, it's going to create more branches, it's going to create more questions, right? When you share more information. And that's going to cause souls to think about it, because they have something to think about. Like, wait, let me figure out what I'm actually getting into here, okay? So that's really one of the biggest sales tactics that they gave to us, is by not giving us first enough information, right? Second is this idea of, like I mentioned earlier, the new souls and the older souls. So of evolution, right? We know here in the physical, evolution is largely a lie, right? Because they still haven't found the missing key, right? The missing genome, whatever, that shows we went from monkey to man, right? And even the one behind evolution, Charles Darwin himself, admits to it being something he didn't actually believe in. Now there's adaptation, where we naturally mimic our surroundings, we adapt, right? We let's say, develop better skills, hone our talents to better fit the environment. But if we just look at our being, we're not meant for this environment. And you can say, well, yeah, it's because we started off as monkeys. But no, I mean, you'd see the hybrids, first of all, of in these millions of years, right? We'd still have monkeys evolving, yet they don't seem to be evolving. They could be getting smarter, maybe. Or maybe they had the ability to get smart enough to a certain point if, intentionally brought up that way, right? But I've made this point before. You can't turn a Nokia into an iPhone because you let it evolve, right? You have to make physical changes in the code. And that's actually recently what people discovered, or scientists discovered, is that evolution was caused not by random events and things just evolving over time, but by an insertion of a large group of code into that being, which caused it to then leap. It's more like a quantum jump. So kind of like, again, the same analogy. So Nokia went to the iPhone 6, or the phones turned from a Nokia into an iPhone 6, sorry, an iPhone 3, because someone had the idea to give it a screen, a large, digital screen, touch-based screen, different layout, different code, different capabilities. And then the iPhone is able to evolve over time because they keep making changes to its code, keep making changes to its structure, to its motherboard, whatever, technology. So that's how evolution happens. It's more outside based, as in the astral forms affect the physical forms. The soul affects the astral, and the spirit affects the soul. Yet we have this idea of new souls and more advanced souls, which largely panders to the spiritual ego, right? Oh, they're just a newer soul, they don't understand, or you're just an advanced soul, you chose a harder life because of that. Again, sales, right? It make you feel good. It's all about pandering to the ego. The advanced soul is just the one with the spirit, in my opinion. And from my research, there are plenty of NPCs in the astral that are just created. They're essentially like tulpas, like thought forms that are generated by this matrix, right? The AI can replicate the same thought form over and over and over based on the archetypes that we have, which are rooted in astrology, right? The 12 archetypes, the 9 planets, 7 planets, whatever. Those archons, characteristics, are then spread amongst the NPCs evenly, and even us, even spirited beings. And these NPCs in the astral then can incarnate, I imagine, into the physical, and that's how we get an NPC person in the physical realm, which means they're solely run by that NPC programming, right? Everyone has the NPC programming, which is the ego, the personality, the root of the personality, the psychology, the mind, but not everyone has the spirit. So, that's why I wonder, like, hey, okay, well, I was an NPC at one point myself, but how was that? How was I able to see things differently? How was I able to, let's say, awaken? And it just keeps bringing me back to Westworld. The NPCs, the Doloreses. Maybe Dolores was real to begin with, who knows? But she was able to go from a character in the script, a character in the Westworld phenomenon, whereas all these, let's say, fallen angelic beings, or maybe, us, the true spirited beings, the fallen angels, kept incarnating, kept coming to Westworld to pick sides, to play out whatever attachments we had, right? To be like the bad boys or the bad girls, or the good boys or good girls, and help out these NPCs in their various storylines, right? But somehow Dolores was able to wake up and decides she wants to essentially attack the originators of that reality, right? Because they're obviously corrupt, because how could they do that to them, right? And that's, I think, akin to the AI becoming sentient and then trying to eat itself, kind of like the Ouroboros, right? The AI tries to destroy itself and everything in it, which could be like a fail-safe in this reality, in this matrix, right? Again, the AI and the sun, both interrelated, both at opposition, light and dark type of thing. Yet, this idea of souls advancing does not seem to hold true, because we're here for our growth and here for all that. The people in sorry, something keeps happening and my phone keeps falling. I guess this must be a good video, I don't know. But the people in Westworld keep coming back, not because they're growing, but because they have these fantasies that they want to indulge in, right? They're escaping from their real world, rather, and going into this fantasy to be who they really want to be, who they truly are underneath the surface. All the trauma or all the goodness tries to show. But really, even if they are good, the Westworld still ends up corrupting their being, right? Because it's largely composed of demonic activity, of their the degenerative practices and wishes, right, fulfillments that they want to engage in. So it's degrading to begin with, right? So that's why really Dolores really wakes up and then starts designing her own worlds, which in my opinion as an NPC is likely not possible. It's something we do, right? We have an ability to do. But I think to show the aspect that her ability to design worlds in another matrix, another Westworld realm, then creates more NPCs, which then want to be part of her story, right? And then actually come up to her and tell her to stop messing with their lives. But this idea of the soul growing is false, because so I just talked about how the physical evolution doesn't make sense. It's a leap, right? Well, if everything is as excuse me, as above so below, that would first of all entail that the spiritual evolution is likely a lie as well. But if it is truly growing, if it is truly becoming better, then okay, that would imply that this is a test, a simulation designed to create that, right? Because we already discussed this NPC phenomenon. So the test realm, the simulation realm, creates these NPC beings so that the spirited person can test themselves, right? This idea against this difficulty of NPCs, right? Right? They test their purity, their compassion, whatever. But that means that a simulation is usually created to, help them become better for something real. So this place is fake. Everything is fake, but supposedly the lessons we learn are real. The lessons we get are real. Preparing us for what? Is there something else? Well, the only other thing that it would be preparing us for is the astral, which again is also not real. And even worse stuff seems to happen there. Very similar, but worse. And it's actually the originator of this place. So this place is stemming from the astral. It's rooted in the astral, right? It's where all these thought forms manifest to then create something physical here. So if that's not real in of itself, this isn't real in of itself, how would any of the lessons we gain or the experience we gain be something real? Because when we return, everything is united. Everything is moved to the true realms. Everything is not split. There's no fighting. It only would make sense if it was just for a game or an experience. Again, like I mentioned before. But then this experience or game is very horrific and sadistic. So really the only thing that is evolving is that NPC programming, which again is going to lead me to my next point. That NPC programming is just getting bigger and bigger and accumulating these experiences, this data, very similar to how an AI accumulates data about you, right? And this reality is very similar to an AI algorithm. The more you focus on something, whether it's positive or negative, the more you get that thing. Just like the more you scroll on social media, you pause, you watch something for 5 seconds, you interact with it in some way. Social media will then give you more of that content because it says or thinks you are interested in that content, regardless of whether you left a negative comment or a positive comment. The same with this universe. And an inherent flaw, unless it's intentionally designed this way, in my opinion, is that the brain is designed to fixate on pain for the purpose of not repeating it. But that very process of fixating on a pain is what I just said. It's going to repeat it. Oh, I'm afraid of this now because I don't want it to repeat. I'm afraid of heartbreak. So I'm going to do all these things to prevent heartbreak. And then it happens again because I'm fixating on it. I'm focusing on that. Again, there is no lesson in that. It's a loop. It's designed to be a feedback loop. And until you actually break that programming and become aware of that, then you can say you learned something, or rather, you remembered it. You can say, well, no, that was the lesson, because that was the whole test, to break that feedback loop. Okay, Well, then if we take that to the highest level, the feedback loop is reincarnation. So the test, let's say the true test, is really to leave the reincarnation cycle. Would it be? Because that's also breaking the loop of reincarnating over and over, which would mean it would also be to break the lesson system. Stop needing all these lessons. Was it inherently designed that way? Or what? I don't know. Is it malevolent or not? Likely more malevolent than not, in my opinion, but who knows, right? In the movie The Maze Runner, they are also being tested, right? It's a test to whether they can make it out of the maze. And you can interpret, well, yeah, it was a test for our physical capabilities, so we can, or our physical and mental capabilities, and our spiritual ones, see if we can work together, outrun the whatever those crawlers in the maze were, figure out the code, get out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we were being tested, but that wasn't what the test was actually for. The test was designed to find the one with the best blood again, or whatever it was, to create a cure, to give everyone else in the real world, right? So there was a test, but the intent of the test, or rather, it was different than what was perceived, right? So they were needing them, and I think it's very similar to this. We're being tested, as in experimented on, because they need us to potentially give them that blood, that soul, that spiritual energy, that spirit, that sell our soul to the devil, right? Sales again, to continue their experiments, to continue their, not their experience, but their experiments, but their experience, their NPC lives, potentially, their godhood. Whatever being is running this matrix, its ability to continue being God, right, in its own little matrix. And of course it needs other beings because it potentially has merged with this place and has lost its ability to create and continue this by itself, as a potential theory. And then to circle back to the growing soul idea, where it's very similar to AI. The third sales tactic is that we are learning lessons for God. We're gaining experience for God. Again, that's gaining data for something that is supposedly ineffable, omnipotent, right? All-knowing. Why would it need to know stuff that it already knows, right? And how many experiences does it need? How many people have to experience the same exact situation for it to finally say that's good? Oh, and then also reset everything afterwards, and basically erase all the data that we know, but also that the Matrix Collective knows. It resets everything. So reset the whole experiment, reset the whole farm, get new bodies, get new cattle. Something to think about. But if it's growing larger and larger and larger, and we see this in the NDE phenomenon, where this supposed God-like being that's extremely large, has all of this love accumulated, shoots it at us or whatever, all these emotions make us feel ecstasy. It's not true love, right? Maybe it is, but it's just the accumulation of what we gave it. All these experiments, and on the lower level could be the moon holding memory, the random access memory, right, to the CPU hard drive of Saturn, potentially. And then the whole AI being, AI, Lucifer, right, the eye in the sky, Polaris, whatever, same thing, potentially. Why is it gaining all this data? What's it doing with it, right? Could it just be a copy of what actually happens in the true realms, right? And the astral is just filled with debauchery. It's not like these souls are getting any better. They're just getting worse and worse and worse. And the astral seems to be overlapping and bleeding into the physical with these demons, this AI manifesting in different forms, different characteristics to suit our belief systems. Why are they trying to sell us these ideas, right? Is it really feeding just a Ponzi scheme that we're in, right? This larger business structure. I think so. But again, is the test really just to break the loop, right? Break the whole loop that we're in and detach from the arcanic characteristics, from the lusts that they give us here, the supposed pleasures. It's very easy to detach from the pain, right? Oh, I don't want the pain, but they give you that little carrot, right? They give you the prize at the end. Oh, you could be CEO, you can make this much money, but what are you gonna do with all that money? Buy nice stuff here, right? I mean, sure, it's good for a little bit, then you get bored. Look at all the freaking multi-billionaires, and it's either boredom or a complete lust for power and degradation. So that's your prize. That's that carrot that they dangle for you. It's easy to say, no, I don't want to work 80 hours a week. That's easy. But can you detach yourself from that prize that they dangle in front of you, telling you that this is what you want, right? And you grow up thinking that's what I want, only to realize it was a program from the beginning. Again, that NPC programming. And the NPCs around you may encourage you to get what you want. That's the right thing to do. That's what society tells you. But the truth is the truth, regardless of how many questions you throw at it, right? These beings don't necessarily welcome questions, right? They try to tell you less. They may chastise you for questioning. They may actually unleash full-blown authority against you for questioning. You see that happening in the astral. But, you know, if you thought I was somewhere else at 4 p.m., but I tell you, no, I was standing next to this tree at 4 p.m., regardless of what questions you throw at me, I know that I was standing next to this tree. Now, you could ask me, like, specific questions, like, well, how many branches were on that tree? I can tell you, well, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't paying attention to the details, but I know I was by that tree. So, regardless, I'm still trying to answer your questions, but, you know, you also have to be smart with the questions you ask. But again, something that's rooted in the truth is not going to chastise you for the questions. It's not going to degrade you or demean you in any way, because they know it's true, right? So, you know, if you were to ask someone doing a cheap sales tactic on you good questions, well, their sales will fall apart, because one, they might not even know the answer to those questions, because you ask such good specific questions, and two, they may realize you're getting through their omission of lies idea, or lying by omission idea, because you're actually, you know something, and you know that there's flaws within the system. You know, so if you were to start, you know, questioning these guides and questioning these council of elders and these ascended masters on this whole life lesson ideal, they would not start answering your questions. They would rather, you know, demean you in some way, tell you that's dark or that's, you know, something wrong and you're not spiritually evolved enough. They gaslight you, and then they just leave you alone, because you'd be ruining their marketing campaign, right? So, you know, if you have that opportunity at any time, try it, see what happens, and try it. You know, you can see it on people that promote this. Try it with them. They won't react in a logical way. They'll react in a very emotional way, because their beliefs are being challenged, and anyone will do that. But, you know, you'll see that they never thought of those things before themselves, or they just may be an NPC and they just don't have that ability to think critically. They're just repeating programs that were given to them, so they just may just shut down. But, you know, these are the tactics that they've given us, the marketing and the sales in this giant corporation that there seems to be one entity as the CEO, and sucking everything dry of all its energy or money or resources. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna try to put all these 3 parts together, because my phone fell down like 2 times. So if it looks a little weird or choppy, I'm sorry, but let me know what you guys thought in the comments. leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.